occultism interests lots of people. There is a fascination with the unexplainable and the spiritual. There is something about the concept of supernatural abilities that intrigue humanity beyond compare. Through ages, there have been myths, legends, and claims of people who possessed magical, spiritual, or otherworldly abilities. But are they real? Is it possible that some people are born with extraordinary abilities? Can such abilities be learned? So today we'll be taking a look at 3 people who claim to have superpowers. Natasha Demkina. In Saransk, Russia, a baby was born in 1987. This baby was Natalia Demkina, known as Natasha, who would grow up to have alleged X-ray vision. The Russian woman claims that she can see inside the human body, giving her the unique ability to make medical diagnoses without the need for an actual examination. By the age of 10, young Natasha was already doing medical readings for the Russian people. She was featured on the Discovery Channel both in the United Kingdom and in Japan in 2004. In 2006, she started to use her miraculous powers publicly, setting up the Center of Special Diagnostics of Natalia Demkina, or TSSD for short. The purpose of the TSSD was for Natasha and other healers involved with the organization to help diagnose and treat various maladies by using unusual abilities. Folk healing and traditional medicine. Natasha explained, "I was at home with my mother and suddenly I had a vision. I could see inside my mother's body and I started telling her about the organs I could see. She revealed that after she informed her mother that she was able to see the organs inside her, the world of her abilities spread around the community. Local people would come to her wanting insight into the condition of their health. In 2003, a newspaper picked up on the story and she was invited to the UK, Japan, and New York to demonstrate her powers. In the UK, she gave demonstrations of her skills, after which all her diagnoses were placed alongside those of professional doctors. One of her demonstrations impressed the daytime host of This Morning Britain by pointing out the fact that she had a sore ankle, and the Discovery Channel claimed she managed to identify the fractures and even metal pins stuck in a woman who had been in a terrible car crash. Her talents were at first believed and applauded, but after she left the country it became clear that she had made several mistakes with her diagnoses. The worst one of all being the diagnosis she gave to Chris Steele, a television physician. She claimed he had various problems such as kidney stones and a serious issue with his gallbladder, among other things. But it turned out he was in pristine health and had no ailments at all. She was taken to New York to showcase her skills in the documentary, The Girl with X-Ray Eyes, where she was tested by researchers from the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. The people she diagnosed explained they felt her diagnoses were accurate. Many of the patients were impressed with her, but the scientists were skeptical, claiming instead that the phenomenon is akin to that of fortune tellers. Nothing more, as her diagnoses were often faulty, according to researcher Richard Wiseman. Ray Hyman, Richard Wiseman, and Andrew Skolnick were the leading researchers conducting their tests on Natasha and came to the conclusion she did not show enough proof of having the acclaimed ability to be studied any further. Natasha Demkina managed to correctly diagnose basic conditions in 4 or 6 patients, but needed to get at least 5 or 6 correct in order for more experiments to be carried out. Demkina and her supporters argued about the conditions under which she was tested, primarily their unfairness towards her. Brian Josephson, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist and supporter of parapsychology, heavily criticized Ray Hyman's methods, questioning the scientists' motives and then accused them of having some kind of plot to discredit the teenage claimed psychic. Brian Josephson's argument was that Natasha managed to get 4 of 6 patient diagnoses correct. The chances of that were 1 in 50 or 2% alone, and that fact, according to him, should be considered. Demkina had more testing at the Tokyo Electrical University in Japan, where she was further tested by Professor Yoshio Mashi. Since the early 2000s, not much has been heard from Demkina. Candido Amantini. Born in Italy in 1914, Candido Amantini was to become a great Catholic Passionist priest in Rome. His official title destined to be that of Reverend Father Candido of the Immaculate, a master exorcist, spiritual director, and confessor. From 1961 until he passed away in 1992, Candido Amantini was the saving grace of Rome. renowned for his exorcisms. The priest would see anywhere from 60 to 80 people in a single day, pleading for assistance. He was stationed at the Church of the Holy Staircase, and as well as being an exorcist, he additionally taught sacred scripture and moral theology, even wrote a novel about the Virgin Mary. In his childhood, Amontini was the second of 4 children, born to Giovanni Battista Amontini and Delinda Frattini Amontini, a faithful Catholic priest. Family. The future priest was baptized exactly 8 days after his birth. At the mere age of 12, he entered the Passionist Minor Seminary in Rome in October of 1926, and by the time he was only 16, he began studies at the Passionist Novitiate on Mount Argentario in the retreat of St. Joseph. It is here where he was gifted the name of Candido of the Immaculate and took his temporary vows as in 1936, after he concluded all his priestly studies, including those of philosophy and theology in Lucca. He took his eternal vows as a Passionist, transferring to the Church of the Holy Staircase, where he studied to attain a degree in theology at the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas, which he got in 1941. He passed away after a long illness on the feast of St. Candido, his patron saint since his passing. The Vatican has gifted him the title of Servant of God, and his beatification is still being investigated by the Congregation for the Causes of Saints. The priest spoke Hebrew, Greek, German, and Sanskrit alongside Italian. His exorcism studies, however, came from Father Alessandro Coletti, exorcist of the Diocese of Arezzo, who taught him and even helped him conduct his first exorcism under his guidance. Saint Padre Pio of Pietrosena said Father Candido is a priest according to God's heart. Father Candido was a man of God, always calm, always smiling, never angry, even with the devil. He was on everyone's lips, well known in Rome, and has exorcised for 36 years without ever stopping. Donna Morth, who claims that Father Candido could see a photograph and immediately tell whether someone required an exorcism or medical care, priest helped hundreds of faithful throughout his life, exorcising many people from bad spirits and demons alike. Donna Morth claims that the devil was afraid of Father Candido, who consistently cast him out of the bodies of victims. Candido allegedly had conversations with the devil during some exorcisms, where he would mock the devil with his faith and love in God. Donna Morth conducted exorcisms with Father Candido from 1986 to 1990 and became his successor. Shamans. Shamanism is a practice often connected with indigenous tribal societies. The underlying belief is that shamans have the capacity to connect to other worlds, heal the feeble, interact with spirits, and guide lost souls to the afterlife. The religious ideology is based heavily on the belief in spirits, demons, and ancestral entities to pass down their traditions and spirituality, but many communities are attempting a spiritual comeback despite the difficulty. Shamans tend to claim that they have been called to their work by divine dreams or signs with hereditary abilities. Traditionally, shamanic training takes years. Depending on culture, the shaman's functions may vary anywhere from healing, preserving traditions throughout storytelling, sacrifices, fortune-telling, and being a psychopomp. Generally, shamans hold professional knowledge of herbal remedies in their areas, often prescribing said remedies for various illnesses. It is believed in many such cultures that every item has a spirit, plants included. In the Peruvian Amazon basin, shamans evoke spirits utilizing a type of song called a nicaros. Often totems are used, such as sacred stones and objects of spiritual value, that slow their hearts to a point of nearly passing away. The traditional point of this exercise is for the shaman to meet their spiritual guides and wander down into the underworld so that they can gather information for the living and prepare in their role as the spiritual guide for other humans. The nomadic Tuvan tribe in Russia is the most authentic tribe which holds tightly onto their roots and traditions, mostly because they are isolated from modern society. They have an estimated population of 3,000 people, and the practice of shamanism at its purest form has been well preserved in the tribe due to a lack of other religions or colonialism interfering with its people. Supernatural abilities are a concept that's difficult for some people to believe, especially in the modern era of science. However, myths and legends of people who are able to traverse other realms, to see the unseen and do the undoable, have existed for as long as humanity has. So surely there must be some truth to these claims. What do you make of these 3 people who claim to have supernatural abilities? Train mysteries are often part of thrilling fiction, but these tales also happen in real life. From disappearances to taking the life of someone, trains can be a source of intrigue, often holding to clues to the last known whereabouts of missing people. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 train mysteries. The mystery man. A mystery man was found deceased near a reservoir on Saddleworth Moor, Greater Manchester, England, in December 2015. His body was discovered lying on a track close to the summit of Indian's Head above the Dovestone Reservoir. The mystery of the unidentified stranger was compelling. He had no ID, no wallet, no mobile phone, and no obvious connection to the area in which he was found. The only clue they could find was that he was a man. Was 3 train tickets in his coat pocket, £130 in £10 notes, and a medication box for hypothyroidism treatment. It was treated as non-suspicious by the police and gave rise to numerous theories, with the story spreading globally. Officers said that the mysterious man was last seen near the location where he was found by walkers around 4:30 p.m. the previous day. The tickets found in his pocket suggested that he traveled from London Ealing to Manchester Piccadilly the day before he was discovered. One ticket was from Ealing Broadway train station at 9:04 a.m., and the other was from London Euston to Piccadilly bought at 9:50 a.m. Pictures of the man were released, but these only showed him at the train station, giving no real insight into the identity of the stranger. The next confirmed sighting of the mystery man was in the Clarence pub in Greenfield, Saddleworth, asking the landlord Melvin Robinson the way to the top of the mountain. He was given the moniker Neil Dovestone as they continued the search for his identity. The mystery deepened as toxicology reports in March 2016 noted that Neil Dovestone passed away from a dose of strychnine, a toxic odorless pesticide used to end the life of rats. This is a favorite in the mystery novels of Agatha Christie and is illegal to buy in the UK. Theories surrounding Neil Dovestone's passing circulated, a favorite being that he was a survivor of a 1949 plane crash near where he was discovered and undertook a pilgrimage to the site. A full 13 months after his body was discovered, Neil Dovestone was officially identified as 67-year-old David Litton. A metal plate in his left thigh was traced back to a procedure in Pakistan was a key clue in discovering his identity, amongst other breadcrumbs that pointed to the country. On the 10th of December 2015, Litton boarded a plane in Lahore and traveled almost 4,000 miles to London Heathrow. Once police identified images at Heathrow and matched Neil Dovestone to passenger records, they were able to trace a relative and get a DNA sample, which led to a positive identification. David Litton had been living in Pakistan for 10 years before returning to the UK and heading to Saddleworth. While the identity of the mysterious body of Neil Dovestone has been unearthed, a mystery still surrounds why he returned to England and went to Saddleworth and how he passed away of pesticide poisoning. One theory suggests that he took it himself, but these will be questions that remain unanswered. Andrew Gosden boarded a train to London and never came home. In one of the most surveilled places, it can be surprisingly easy to disappear. This was the case of Andrew Gosden, who in September 2007 at the age of 14 caught a train from Doncaster to King's Cross Station, London, and there have been no confirmed sightings since. On the 14th of September 2007, Andrew left his house at 8:05 a.m. Instead of heading to school, he went to Westfield Park and waited until he knew his house would be empty. On returning home, Andrew changed into a Slipknot t-shirt, one of his favorite bands, and jeans, put his school uniform in the wash and hung his blazer on the back of a chair. He then left the house at 8:30 a.m. with his wallet, keys, and PSP console in a satchel. Caught on the neighbor's CCTV, withdrew £200 out of his £214 savings, despite leaving £100 of birthday money in his room, bought a one-way ticket to King's Cross and caught the train at 9:35 a.m. He arrived at King's Cross at 11:20 a.m. and was captured on a security camera at 11:25 a.m., the last verified sighting. At first, Andrew's disappearance went unnoticed. The school tried to ring the parents to notify them of Andrew's absence, but misdialed the number, leading to his disappearance being logged late. Andrew's disappearance was only noticed when he was called for dinner, with his parents thinking he was playing video games in another room. After phoning friends to try and find him, a call was made to the police at 7 p.m. to report Andrew missing. It took 3 days for police to determine that Andrew had taken the train to London. using a tip from the person that sold him the ticket and 27 days to get CCTV images of him at the station. Following that, the CCTV trail went cold, hampered by the slow start to the investigation. Andrew was a quiet boy that required strong prescription lenses and was deaf in his left ear and a distinctive ridge on his right ear. The reason Andrew went to London is unclear and why he did not buy a return ticket. Many believe that he went to see a concert. 30 Seconds to Mars were playing in London the day of his disappearance, as was a local band doing a farewell show. However, neither of these leads have provided any evidence. There was an apparent sighting in a Pizza Hut on Oxford Street, which Andrew's parents believe is credible, but this has not been confirmed. There have been unconfirmed sightings across the UK since Andrew's disappearance, but none of these have led to any success. In 2008, Lempstead Police Station had a man tell them he had information about Andrew over the out-of-hours intercom, but by the time that someone came to take his information, he had gone. The family was sent an online conversation from a user called Andy Rue claiming he had left home at 14. His boyfriend had left him and needed £200 for rent. Rue was a nickname that the family had for Andrew as a child, and this lead sparked interest. His bank account has seen no activity since the day he went missing, and new age progression images have been released over the years with no sign of Andrew Gosden surfacing. The disappearance of Martin Allen disappeared a month after his 15th birthday in November 1979 while walking through King's Cross Station on his way home from school. He lived in Kensington with his parents. His father was employed as a chauffeur to an ambassador of the Australian High Commissioner. It was said that there was nothing in Martin's personal life that would indicate his wish to run away, yet he disappeared without a trace. At around 3:50 p.m. Martin said goodbye to a friend at King's Cross Station and boarded the tube on the southbound Piccadilly line, his usual journey. He was intending to stay at his older brother's place in Holloway, but was heading home first to pick up some money. His parents believed he was at his brother Robert's home, while Robert believed he had changed his plans and stayed at home. As a result, his disappearance was not reported until 7 p.m. the next day as his mother served dinner. Around the time of Martin's disappearance, there were multiple reports of a boy matching Martin's description in the presence of a man at Gloucester Road Station. One witness said the boy had been thrown against a wall, another saw him heading down a lift, and another that saw a young boy and a man fitting the same description boarding a train to Rayners Lane, and the boy did not want to leave the train when it arrived at Earl's Court. A description of the man aged between 30 to 40 years old with blonde or light hair was released to the public. Despite numerous witnesses, all leads led nowhere. There have since been rumors Martin was abducted, but one of the main witnesses was found to be a fantasist. No new leads have come to light of Martin Allen's disappearance, and it still remains a mystery. But what do you make of these 3 train mysteries? When you think of space, you might think of things like planets and galaxies, but many of us have thought about whether or not life exists out there in the vastness of space. It's a question that's been asked time and time again. Are we alone in the universe? NASA scientists have said there's over 100 billion planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone, and there's hundreds of millions of galaxies, all teeming with millions or billions of planets. This makes the likelihood of there being life in our universe very high. This is why NASA and other space agencies are now making it their goal to visit various systems in the hopes of finding life. It's likely it will happen. The question is when and how long will it take? For all we know, there could be life only a couple of million miles away. And when you're talking about space, billions of miles is a very small distance. However, there's some people who have captured interesting photos throughout the years and say that these help prove that we're not alone in the universe. One of my subscribers sent me this photograph and said that it was taken alongside the International Space Station. They managed to quickly snap a photograph of the strange object but couldn't explain what it was. At first, they speculated that it may have been a satellite, but then thought it was likely too close to be one. I shared this image to a few groups to get their opinions. Some said the object in question doesn't look like a piece of space junk, going on to say it has sharp edges and even looks to be in the shape of a triangle. Others carried on from this and said that is either producing light or lights bouncing off the object, which allows us to see it, also stating that it's too detailed to be a random piece of space debris. What's interesting about these types of photographs is that there's many like this. UFO researchers have been vocal about the fact that the International Space Station is actually a hotspot for UFO activity, and that every year many strange objects can be seen around the space station cameras. Sometimes these objects around the cameras are not seen for long, as they can be seen making a quick exit, while others can be seen zipping past at extremely high speeds. Skeptics who have seen these types of images suggest that what people are seeing is just space debris, and sometimes they can take on different forms that make them look like UFOs. Further saying that there's thousands of pieces of space debris above our planet, and it's likely that that's what people are seeing. Those who have watched the live cams and have studied these images though have said this isn't what people are seeing, pointing out that when these objects come within the live cam's view, NASA shuts off the feed. They ask that if these were just space debris, then why do the cameras always shut off when they come into view? This has happened on a number of occasions with UFO researchers, saying that it proves that something is going on that NASA doesn't want us to know about. In the past, news stations have tried to reach out to NASA to get an answer for what they think these objects are, but 99% of the time they've failed to give an answer. Skeptics have also said that people don't understand that a lot of events happen above our planet, with one of the most common ones being that of meteorites entering our atmosphere. They've said that people who aren't used to this sight will confuse this with things like UFOs, when in reality what they're witnessing is something that happens all the time. Well, one believer said the following: this is one of the problems we're facing when it comes to things like UFOs being seen close to the International Space Station. People are so quick to deny it. I think at this point we all need to understand that it's obvious that something is going on. I'm not saying that every one of these things is an unidentified flying object, but to say that every single one can be explained away as space debris, it's just ignorant. It's clear that government officials are interested in the UFO phenomena, as declassified documents show us that they've been researching these things for several decades, and when they close down one of these projects that's been assigned to UFOs, they usually open up another one soon after. It's clear that there's something we're not being told about when it comes to the subject of UFOs. The more we deny it, the more we dig ourselves a hole, and the harder it will be to open our minds to things we don't understand. For the past 5 years, government officials have been dropping hints that they know about these crimes. I hope that there will be an announcement soon, and that we can all start moving forward. Right now, there's still people that believe these objects are not natural, and that some photographs show what looks like crafts under intelligent control. In some cases, people have reported that these objects will suddenly cover a vast distance in a matter of seconds, or that they've witnessed these crafts making a 360-degree turn and then shoot away. They say that we don't have the technology to be able to do this, and it's one of the reasons why they think something is going on. Although it's easy to dismiss some of these claims, it's important to have an open mind about these objects and the subject in general. When it comes to the universe, we are monumentally small and inconsequential. There's quadrillions of planets scattered all throughout the universe, and all you need is one of them to be 100,000 years ahead of us, and potentially you'd have a civilization 100,000 years more advanced. Think how much we've achieved in the last 100 years alone. So is it really out there to think that an advanced civilization could exist somewhere in the universe? So what do you make of these interesting objects that have been seen close to the International Space Station? Do you believe they're just space debris that's giving off the illusion that something is there? Or do you think they're UFOs? Also, why do you think NASA shuts down the live feed when one of these objects appear? The Amazon rainforest plays a key role in life as we know it today, from regulating our oxygen and carbon cycles around the globe, to reducing air pollution significantly, to being a home to over 10 million different species. Despite the undeniable significance to the modern-day human's well-being, the Amazon contains a rich and detailed history that we are still attempting to unravel today. Each year, new technology, new discoveries, and new research sparks more discussion. And we find out a little bit more about this rainforest. So today, we'll be taking a look at 3 Amazon jungle discoveries. Network of Amazon villages. Modern, advanced remote laser scanners have revealed a network of ancient villages hidden deep within the Amazon rainforest. Archaeologists did know that there was a series of villages within the Amazon prior to this new research, but the advancement of geodetic technology has allowed us to deepen our knowledge, finding some new information regarding the locations and arrangements of various settlements, as well as the way in which they are organized. These new discoveries have been made through the help of LiDAR scanning technology. This tech has a broad range of uses. You'll find it within your iPhone, but it also has played a key role in archaeological discoveries such as this one. One researcher on this project, Jose Iriate, explained that even though equipment such as satellites were in place over the area, these roads and villages went undetected by them. This shift away from the classic archaeological techniques, namely excavation, has been a time saver, saving the need to physically dig and clear out these sites. The LiDAR sensors had been mounted on helicopters which scoured the sky, covering the area containing these villages, roads, and settlements. These connections save money, time, and labor of an excavation, despite this being the sturdy go-to archaeological method. This new equipment provides excellent opportunities for areas that may not be particularly accessible on foot. The new groundbreaking research that has followed since the employment of the latest technology is the dating of these villages. These settlements have been determined to date back between AD 1300 to 1700 and are seemingly positioned according to the stars, as they hold a strong resemblance to what is referred to as Native American space. Each village appears to be centered around what has been referred to as mounds. These villages appear to have anywhere between 3 and 32 mounds, some reaching 20 meters in length and 3 meters in height. Some of these have maintained a rounded shape, whilst others appear to be rectangular, increasing the questions about these mounds. Despite comparisons with other villages with mounds, we remain uncertain as to their purpose. Some have suggested they were simply homes. Some have suggested they were reserved for members of the community of great importance. Other explanations have included suggestions that they may be a religious establishment, or it has been said that these mounds could even be cemeteries. The LiDAR technology has also found roads connecting each of these villages. The majority of these settlements had at least 4 roads, main roads and secondary minor roads. As of yet, 36 villages have been surveyed. There has been a great discrepancy regarding the distance between each one, with some being miles apart and others just 3 kilometers away. The questions that have been raised after this discovery may lead to physical excavations to try and solve some of the mysteries we have been left with. We are struggling to piece together the puzzle with too much of a gap in each piece of history. Now we know that an excavation may help to complete these unanswered questions. Whilst these helicopter scans are useful, we have to consider this preliminary research. The LiDAR technology has allowed us to locate and map out certain structures in dense, difficult-to-read areas, but there's still plenty of research left to go before we can find the answers to our questions. One of the oldest burial sites in the Amazon. Researchers believe they have stumbled across what may be the oldest burial site yet discovered in the southwest Amazonia, tucked away within northern Bolivia in the Llanos de Moxos region of the Amazon rainforest. This site contains graves that are estimated to be a minimum of 6,000 years old and presumed to be older. Buried here are 5 humans, as well as the shells of snails and the bones of fish and various mammals. This discovery is more important, as they believe this site was created 6,000 years ago, which entirely changes the timeline of when we believe people had begun to build settlements within the Amazon. The site was found on the Forest Islands, situated in Ia del Torso, La Chacra, and San Pablo. An excavation and further study led many researchers to believe that these so-called forest islands provided a safe asylum and a point of refuge to ancient Amazonians fleeing the flooded Llanos de Moxos savanna throughout the rainy season, making these islands seasonal settlements. This discovery has also given insights into the sophistication of these societies, as burials of this sort, along with the traces of food remains and of fires having burned, have implications of a settled society protecting their territories. Before this discovery, we had been operating under the assumption that the people living in this region were hunter-gatherers, though this updated perspective suggests a series of more complex societies instead. This means our timeline could have been 10,000 years out, meaning these groups and societies were established and complex far earlier than we originally thought. Lead author of the study, Jose M. Capri, assistant professor at Penn State University, explained that these burials tells us that the indigenous groups within the Amazon had learned to adapt and transform the landscape in beneficial and suitable ways. These signify far more advanced living standards than we had predicted were possible at this time. Furthermore, the discarding of waste, be it food or what was once living, and then returning to stay in the area as a seasonal settlement, meant that the soil composition had been changed slightly, becoming more fertile. This allowed for thicker growth of vegetation and higher land elevation. Jose M. Capri elaborates, explaining that when their preferred food sources and supplies ran low, the indigenous populations were able to domesticate plants, including peanuts and sweet potatoes. This excelling knowledge meant that only mere generations later, societies capable of establishing roads were prevalent. Capriat concludes his research explaining that the study of these landscapes helps us to see the interaction between humans and these biomes, and gives us an insight into the cultural and biological diversity that is rife within. A new species of electric eel found in the waters of the Amazon basin. The Amazon is home to many strange and wonderful creatures, though this new species of eel discovered in the Amazon basin is more terrifying than cute. Dubbed the planet's most powerful electric eel, this creature, biologically referred to as Electrophorus volti, is capable of delivering an 850-volt shock. Until this discovery, the most powerful known electric eel had been able to send a 650-volt shock to its victims. For a frame of reference, the human body often fails to withstand a 200-volt shock, and defibrillators often range between 200 and 1,000 volts. David de Santana, lead researcher of the project at the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History, explains how these eels can easily grow up to 8 feet long. He continues to explain that for such a large creature to remain undetected for 250 years of active searching, there must be multitudes of species we simply don't know exist in the Amazon. We are currently aware of 250 species of fish that can produce electricity in South America alone. Electric eels, which are in fact fish that simply resemble an eel's appearance, are the only fish that actively hunt and defend themselves with their electricity. The others reserve their electricity to communicate and navigate, an ability the electric eel also takes advantage of. The collaboration between the Santana's Smithsonian team and researchers from the University of São Paulo Museum of Zoology has begun to aid investigations into the diversity of eels and electric fish in South America. The 850-volt electric forest of Altai eel may have been the star of the show, living in the south of the Brazilian Shield. But another species of electric eel, Electrophorus vari, has been found too, swimming in murky lowland waters compared to Electrophorus volti preferred highland region. This research has also refined existing knowledge, confirming that the Electrophorus electricus remains only in the highland Guyana Shield, despite previous assumptions of the eel being distributed throughout South America. On the two eel groups, revealing that their evolutionary differences appear to have begun several million years ago, believed to be 3.6 million years ago. The high voltage has been explained to be a result of an evolutionary adaptation to highland waters having a low conductivity. This wide difference in their evolution means their means to conduct electricity, referred to as electrogenesis, may never have been studied before. The Santana explains that a possible different use of enzymes and various compounds may present us with an opportunity for medicinal advancements and new technology. Ancient civilizations throughout the Amazon have been a keen focus of study for years, though continuing to keep these societies within our research can only help develop our understanding of the role of humans in forming the Amazon as we know it today. The home of over 10 million species is bound to have some more animals and plants hidden within the 5.5 million kilometers squared of trees and waters that we simply have not found yet. But what do you make of these Amazon jungle discoveries?
Don't forget to subscribe.
Discoveries regarding ancient civilizations are fascinating. They give insights into technological marvels that we have today, or give rise to conspiracy theories regarding aliens or prehistoric civilizations with advanced technologies. A number of unearthed artifacts have gained attention, some of which have renewed scientific interest trying to unlock their history. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 archaeological discoveries. Ancient system discovered. The start of construction can uncover many hidden mysteries. This was the case in Borajerd, Iran. During excavations for a construction of a new building in the city, an ancient aqueduct system was discovered in 2015. The system is believed to belong to the historical castle, but its historical era had not been confirmed at that time. Borajerd is an ancient Persian city. It is believed to be one of the oldest cities in Iran. It was home to a large castle and settlement, remains of which can still be seen today in the form of mounds. 57 towers surrounding the settlement made up one of the 2 layers of protection. The second was within this protecting the government castle. It was around 280 hectares in area. Within the walls was a water system that was made up of clay pipes. The recently uncovered aqueduct was a part of this. The aqueduct system, discovered in 2015, is a smart water transfer system which also included pottery crocks that were used to clean and purify water. This removed mud from the water and helped to minimize the risk of blockages. In an arid desert climate, water is an important commodity. These networks of clay pipes and pottery crocks would have been essential in providing fresh water for farming, drinking, and other uses. The castle was like a big garden inside, which was made possible by this water system. An official with Loristan Provincial Cultural Heritage, Handicrafts, and Tourism organizations said that the discovered items have been documented, adding that the decision has yet to be made as to whether the place should be kept intact or the historical items should be taken to another place for protection. Officials also stated the system is now being studied and protected by experts of the Cultural Heritage Organization and the special unit in charge of protecting cultural heritage. This discovery highlights the Persians and their advanced water systems, which are said to be predecessors to the Romans. In the region, agricultural and permanent settlements were supported by an ancient system. It's a network of pipes that conducts waters to cities in underground tunnels. While the discovery of the aqueduct has yet to be dated, the development is believed to have begun 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. There are over 120,000 documented across Iran, and 37,000 of these are still in use in the country, a testament to the engineering skills in the Persian era. Cube. A mystery surrounds an artifact found in the 19th century, the Salzburg Cube. This is also known as the Wolf's Egg iron. It's often referred to as an out-of-place artifact, as the location of its origin does not match its makeup. Whilst it sounds somewhat unremarkable, a small cube of iron, weighing 785 grams, and is 67 by 67 by 47 millimeters, is found with an incision around its circumference and pits over its surface. It's grabbed the attention of scientists, historians, and conspiracy theorists. Unlike its name suggests, it's not actually cube-shaped, but more of an egg. The Salzburg Cube was uncovered by a workman at a foundry in Austria when he broke open a block of brown coal that had been mined at Wolf's Egg. The metal cube was embedded in the block, and the coal deposit that housed the cube was dated to between 20 and 60 million years ago. The cube itself looks man-made, starting the fascination with its origin and raising the question, how did it end up in the coal deposit that was formed in the time of dinosaurs, long before man was to roam the earth? It was handed to the foundry's owner and sent off for scientific study. The initial analysis of the block by the mining engineer Adolf Gold, professor of geology at the University of Bonn, classed it as a meteorite. At the time of the meteorite declaration, the idea fascinated scientists. Articles about the cube appeared in scientific journals in 1886 and 1887. The meteorite theory remained unchallenged for many years. This was until the 1966 study using an electron beam microscope was conducted by scientists at the Museum of Natural History, Vienna. The analysis didn't identify nickel, chromium, or sulfur, key elements in a meteorite. This examination presented the theory that the cube was cast iron. In 1973, an examination concluded that the cube had been cast using the lost wax method. In the early 1900s, the cube vanished from the Salzburg Museum. There is still a number of unanswered questions surrounding the Salzburg Cube, giving rise to conspiracy theories if the cube is of alien origins, natural, or man-made by an ancient lost civilization from prehistoric times. Could also be a hoax or just a misunderstanding. There's a possibility that it's an old piece of mining machinery that got stuck in the coal and was unearthed. Without the original piece of coal, this will remain an unanswered question. However, there's no doubt that the Salzburg Cube will continue to generate interest. Dorchester pot. Outer place artifacts are often the basis for conspiracy theories such as aliens or ancient civilizations. One of these is known as the Dorchester pot. This artifact was claimed to have been blown out of a rock in 1852 at the Meeting House in Dorchester near Boston, United States. The Dorchester pot, a metal vase, was recovered from the debris in two pieces after it measured 114 millimeters high, 165 millimeters diameter at the base, and 63.5 millimeters diameter at the top. The object was reported in both a local paper, the Boston Transcript, and in the June 5, 1852 issue of Scientific American. According to an account published in Scientific American 7, page 298, the blast scattered an immense mass of rocks. Of the pieces weighing several tons and scattered small fragments in all directions. On sorting through the rubble, a metallic vessel was found in two parts, thought to have been broken by the explosion, rent asunder. As the original text states, the vase is thought to be a zinc or silver alloy. It had decoration that included 6 inlaid silver flowers, and an inlaid silver. The object was blasted out of pudding stone that's part of the Roxbury conglomerate 15 feet below the surface. The Roxbury is estimated to have been formed 570 to 593 million years ago. It accumulated at the bottom of a deep-ripped basin, which was filled with marine water, within submarine fan and slope environments. The original publications surrounding the discovery of the pot did not estimate the age of the finding. That the discovery of the pot confirms ancient civilization with highly skilled metal workers, dating the pot over 600 million years old. However, it has been noted the markings on the vase resemble an Indian pipe holder on display at Ex-Prince of Wales Museum in Mumbai, India. There was an apparent joke in the Scientific American paper in 1852. This is not a question of zoology, botany, or geology, but a question relating to an antique metal vessel, perhaps made by Tubal Cain, the first inhabitant of Dorchester. This was in referral to the first blacksmith, a biblical figure. While there's still some that argue that Dorchester pots is an ancient artifact, it's widely believed to have just been found amongst the debris rather than been embedded in the rock, and was just a few years old at the time of discovery. So what do you make of these archaeological discoveries? The dense tangle of the jungle conceals untold secrets, and its depths and mysteries are likely not fully known and understood by a single person on this planet. Not even the native tribes that have spent their lives surviving by mastering the resources hiding within the danger. Legends abound as to what exactly could be hidden far out of sight within the Amazon, and some of these seemingly fantastical stories have their basis in fact and first-hand accounts. We'll be taking a look at 3 cases where the secrets of the jungle just might have been revealed. Orang Mawa's cryptid. A cryptid is a term given to a creature or being who is largely mythological and has not been proven to exist by the scientific community. However, several creatures once given the cryptid name have turned out to be not as fictitious as first believed. For example, the Kolakant and the Akapi were once cryptids and have now been scientifically acknowledged to exist. The Orang Mawa's cryptid of the jungle of Johor in Malaysia is another example of a being that was thought to be the stuff of legends. But there have been so many reported sightings that entire web groups have sprung up, dedicated to proving its existence. This creature is rumored to be a hominid about 10 feet tall, walking on 2 legs and covered in black fur. The locals of the jungle, the Orang Asli people, call the Orang Mawas Hantu Jarang Gigi, which means snaggletooth ghost. And they have many legends which tell of the creature being sighted feeding on fish and raiding orchards. Although sightings of the Orang Mawas have been reported regularly as far back as 1871, with legend and myth dating the sightings back even further, many believe that it is not a cryptid at all, but merely a surviving relative of the Gigantopithecus, which was an enormous ancient ape. Still, others dismiss the sightings entirely and claim that it is simply a sun bear, a black bear that feeds on fruit and is native to the area, being mistaken or something more sinister. Verified sightings of the Orang Mawas have occurred since the 1950s, with a highly publicized sighting occurring as recently as 2005 that gave a large amount of credence to believers in the 3 local workers clearing land all reported seeing 3 Orang Mawas, 2 adults and a child, walking along the river together, as though they were a family. Upon later investigation, along the riverbank were large humanoid footprints up to 1.5 feet long, where the Mawas family had supposedly been sighted. The momentum of the mystery surrounding the creatures truly took off several months later at the beginning of 2006, when a local Malaysian newspaper published photographs of a fresh tar footprint that was believed to be from the Orang Mawas. Later that same month, Johor authorities announced that they would be sending an official government expedition to try to prove the existence of the Mawas, and in doing so, became the first country to have an officially sanctioned hunt for a mysterious hominid. Some reports from the expedition claimed that they found and captured an Orang Mawas later that same year, but the official report denied it. Orang Mawas, fanatics, believe that sightings of the creature are becoming more common as humans carve into the jungle and destroy its home, and it is forced to expose itself to humans, meaning that it is only a matter of time before its existence is proven once and for all, while others simply believe the sightings are misidentified apes and orangutans. Only time will tell whether this mysterious cryptid is truly out there in the jungles of Malaysia. And for now, the search continues. Ice Age art discovered in Amazon rainforest. What experts are calling the Sistine Chapel of the Ancients has recently been discovered in the depths of the Amazon rainforest in Colombia. Spanning almost 8 miles of cliff faces, the paintings make up the largest collection of prehistoric rock paintings to be discovered, and as they are over 12,000 years old, can tell experts a lot of valuable information about what life was like for the artists of the day. The humans that painted these images were one of the first humans to inhabit the jungle-dense area and painted the life around them, and that life was totally unlike the jungle of today. Depicting long-extinct animals such as the mastodon, which hasn't roamed the earth for at least 12,000 years, the paleolama, the camelid, giant sloths, and ancient Ice Age horses, as well as animals that are far more familiar to modern man like fish, turtles, lizards, and birds. People dancing and wearing elaborate masks, as well as handprints and designs also feature prominently in the cliff drawings. The paintings were discovered by a British Columbian team led by Jose Iriarte, a professor of archaeology at Exeter University who was blown away by the sheer size and area of the paintings, which number in at least the tens of thousands. Iriarte has described the experience of getting such a glimpse into the way the world looked over 12 millennia ago by saying, "We started seeing animals that are now extinct." The pictures are so natural and so well made that we have few doubts that you're looking at a horse, for example. The Ice Age horse had a wild, heavy face. So detailed we can even see the horsehair. It's fascinating. Although it's not clear whether the paintings were sacred in nature, they do depict humans worshipping or performing rituals around some of the larger animals. The paintings also contain indications that the topography of what is now a dense rainforest jungle was much different when large mastodons roamed the area. Based off of initial impressions and the resources that would have been needed to sustain such enormous life, researchers believe that what is now choked with trees and vines once resembled more of a savanna ecosystem. Discovery of the paintings relied on penetration into an area of the rainforest that had previously been hostile territory as FARC guerrillas who had been engaged in a long-standing civil war with the Colombian government controlled the area and nobody dared to risk entering. However, after long periods of careful negotiation, the team was able to brave the region for exploration and found such an amazing hidden gem that one can only wonder what other clues lie hidden behind that tangle of vines. The mysterious Ropen scientists and researchers have long acknowledged that we have not discovered and named nearly all of the plant and animal species that lie hidden throughout the planet. And one of the places considered most rife with undiscovered creatures and plants is the deep jungles of Papua New Guinea. One of the most legendary of these potentially hidden species is the Ropen, which is a winged that is considered to be very closely descended from the ancient pterodactyl. One of the most distinctive characteristics of the cryptid Ropen, which means demon flyer, is its bioluminescent body that supposedly helps to attract and catch fish as it hunts during the night. Natives of Papua New Guinea have much folklore revolving around the Ropen, which takes the role of both man and spirit in legends, but creationists have also fanatically searched as evidence that the Earth is not as old as scientists believe, leaving some to claim that the rumors of its existence were fabricated entirely by creationists. However, the first sighting of the Ropen was recorded by well-respected and renowned entomologist Evelyn Cheeseman in 1935, decades before the creationists took up the cause. There are still others who claim that the reported sightings of the Ropen are, in fact, merely a misidentified pterosaur, despite that species being known to be extinct. Other realists attribute the sightings to giant bats that are known to inhabit the area and have wingspans of up to 2 meters. However, the bioluminescence of the Ropen is perhaps the strongest evidence of its existence, as most of the reported sightings have been of glimpses of flashes of glowing light as the Ropen darted and fished during the night. No other creature known to the area can be attributed to these flashes in the night sky, which strengthens the argument for the existence of the cryptid. But the fact that flashes are all that have been glimpsed and its body and general form and appearance is largely unknown, leads the rational to believe that the flashes could even be a freak of nature similar to the northern lights rather than a creature at all. In 2006, An American creationist set out to prove the existence of the Ropen once and of a much younger Earth, but after 2 nights of vigilance was only able to capture footage of their glowing aura and was forced to leave just as unsatisfied as when he arrived. Perhaps we will never discover whether a prehistoric bat-like creature roams the night skies of Papua New Guinea, and maybe that is just how the Ropen likes it. Be it mythical cryptid whose rumored presence has led multiple expeditions on fruitless of highly detailed, unbelievable Ice Age cliff paintings that have lain undiscovered in plain sight for thousands of years, there is no doubt that the Amazon rainforest conceals many secrets. We will likely never be able to say that we truly understand all of the mysteries that lie hidden within the vines, and all that there is to do is continue the search as we attempt to uncover the secrets of the Amazon. What do you make of these 3 mysterious jungle discoveries? Being a YouTuber can bring you fame and fortune. However, some of these individuals have mysteriously vanished from the platform, leaving their subscribers to wonder what happened to them. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 YouTubers who vanished. Unexplained disappearance of Kenny Veach. Kenny Veach was a 47-year-old avid hiker of the Mojave Desert in Nevada. On November 10, 2014, he told his family he planned to go on a 2-day hike in the mountains and look for a cave. He never returned. Veach was an experienced hiker who often took solo trips to explore the Mojave and Great Basin deserts of Nevada and California respectively. He was a minimalist or ultralight hiker. Even though he would camp out for days at a time, he only ever brought the bare minimum of supplies. He rarely brought a GPS, compass, or map. Although he had successfully completed many hikes in his lifetime in that manner, it is still an incredibly reckless way to hike. Veach had a YouTube channel under the name Snakebit McGee, where he had uploaded a few videos, but mostly used it to watch and comment on others. His channel name came from his tendency to pick up snakes whenever he found them. He was bitten by a rattlesnake, which is where his tag name came from. On June 2014, he commented on a video titled, "Son of an Area 51 Technician." In his comment, he stated that he had found an M-shaped cave about 7 miles out from Nellis Air Force Base in the Sheep Mountains, which are north of Las Vegas, Nevada. He explained that he was an experienced hiker, who regularly found abandoned mine shafts and explored them, picked up rattlesnakes for fun, solo hiked across mountains others would fear to go, and even came close to Area 51. Despite all this, he never went into the M cave. He claimed that as he began to enter the hidden cave, his entire body began to vibrate. The further in he went, the worse the shaking became. He suddenly grew very scared and quickly ran out of the cave and hiked back to his car. His comments sparked an interest with others who encouraged Veach to go out and discover the cave again, this time filming the entire hike. He agreed and left to find it a second time, carrying along with him a video camera and a 9mm handgun. He posted a video of his hike, but unfortunately was unable to find the mystery cave. The viewers criticized him and provoked him to go out a third time. On November 10, 2014, he left for an overnight trip but never came back. After 2 days and no return, his family contacted authorities who conducted a search. In the beginning of the video he had previously posted, he stood by an abandoned mine shaft while narrating his mission details. It was at that mine shaft that search and rescue found his cell phone, 10 days after the search began. Over 30 search and rescue volunteers conducted 3 separate searches and a helicopter flyover to no avail. The trail went cold after that. Many conspiracy theories cropped up. Did he fall down the mine shaft? Or had he stumbled upon a hidden entrance to Area 51 and discovered a dangerous military secret? Was he just a reckless hiker who injured himself? Or did he reach the M cave and find something ominous inside? A woman claiming to be his girlfriend later posted a comment on his last video that stated she did not believe he had an accident. She explained that he had been suffering from depression for some time and had quit his job the year prior, so she argued that he had most likely taken his own life. So far, no conclusion has yet to be drawn about Kenny Veach's mysterious disappearance. What do you think the truth is? The mystery of Secure Team 10. For years, the YouTube channel Secure Team 10 was the dominating source on all things conspiracy. With over 2 million subscribers, creator Tyler Glockner posted almost daily with news about UFO sightings and government plots. His channel gained success due to a combination of his consistent uploads, attention-grabbing topics and bizarre claims, as well as constant news coverage of his channel. Since 2018, though, there have been no new uploads and eventually all content from his channel has disappeared. After some time of complete radio silence, Glockner uploaded a video of himself discussing what had happened to him over the course of many months. He explained that he was unable to post videos as often because he had been planning and working on a documentary that was taking him all over the country. He apparently had received numerous threats to cease his investigation, none of which he listened to. Glockner then made claims of being set up by his opponents. He argued that he was in his house one evening, but woke up in his car to a police officer arresting him for driving under the influence. Glockner denied any substance abuse, saying he never drank alcohol or did drugs before. He was shortly released from jail and returned home. A week later, police received an anonymous tip that he was beating his wife, to which he also vehemently denied. He was once again brought to jail even though his wife protested, and this time he claimed he was held there for a week with no bail and beaten by cops. His defending argument was that it was a setup to bring his channel down. Before creating his YouTube channel, Glockner was an aspiring actor. His critics called him a professional liar. Every day his channel was discovering some new and insane incident from America to Antarctica to Mars. People made careers out of debunking his videos. They proved that he photoshopped pictures and altered his own voice and pretended to be a government whistleblower. In order to stop the bad press, Glockner paid off the people debunking him. Those videos criticizing him had a curious amount of downvotes, which led people to believe he had paid for it. His reputation was everything to him. Even the news outlets loved him because they could post an article about his videos and have it go viral. In 2019, his entire channel was demonetized due to violating YouTube's policies. His fans claimed instead that big media and the tech industry were trying to shut Glockner up because he was exposing them. They argued that YouTube and other companies were trying to hide something. It was later discovered that one of his related channels was the well-known Alex Jones, the far-right radio show host and conspiracy theorist. Eventually, his channel was remonetized, but he never returned to his previous success. His upload schedule slowed tremendously, and there were even some rumors of him using substances. He went missing for some time and then returned with a conspiracy about his setup. He was quickly debunked once more. The dash cam of his initial arrest showed his car crashed into a pole and him failing a sobriety test. Records indicate that after his second arrest, he was released after 3 days, not 1 week, and his wife never actually came forward to protest on his behalf. The final piece of this mystery came together when it was revealed that he had stolen his logo from an artist named J.J. Ng and had used it for every single piece of content. A debunking channel finally had all of the channel's videos taken down and removed from YouTube. The debunking channel then declared they would return his materials if he never published again. The vanishing Miss Hannah Minx Hannah Wagner was the founder and creator of the YouTube channel Miss Hannah Minx. She was known as one of YouTube's first weeboos, a Western person who is obsessed with Japanese culture and anime and finds it superior to other cultures. They often dress and act similar to anime characters, even altering their voices to sound softer and cuter, making them often annoying and cringeworthy. The term weeboo is derogatory slang towards these fans. Hannah was from Lexington, Kentucky, and studied abroad during college in Japan at Sophia University. It was there that she first had the idea to make a YouTube channel on Japanese language learning videos. She titled her videos JWoww, or Japanese Word of the Week, in which she would give a short 1 to 2 minute lesson on a simple word. Hannah made her fame by posting videos of her dressed up as an anime character and giving Japanese lessons. She dressed provocatively and spoke with a high-pitched voice. She was an overnight success, with her first video amassing almost 500,000 views. Over time, she expanded her sites and featured in several small films in the horror genre. She first began posting in 2009, and over the years managed to build a fan base and garnered 600,000 subscribers. Then suddenly, in 2013, she vanished. Her last video was posted in 2013 about her experience at San Diego Comic-Con. No other social media account has been updated since. There were many fans concerned and conspiracy theories started to crop up. People were theorizing that she had been abducted, lost her rights of the Hannah Minx trademark to her manager, or went underground to escape a stalker. The most plausible answer is that she got married and had a child. There is no proof on her social media and her private life is completely hidden. But one Redditor who claims they're friends on her personal Facebook page uploaded a screenshot of her status change to got married. Her husband's name is apparently Steve Osterhagen, and her name and status change on her private Facebook page seems to support that argument. Multiple sources close to her said that she is fine and healthy. She got married and had a child and probably decided to let go of her YouTube career and instead focus on her family. The only mystery is why she ghosted all of her subscribers and never gave any explanation. But what do you make of these YouTubers who vanished? What do you think truly happened? NASA employees are regarded as people that search for the truth. They use science in order to explain anomalies that are found in the cosmos. But what happens when a former NASA scientist comes forward with a startling claim? This is exactly what happened when Norman Berggren came forward with his extraordinary claims. He has claimed that there are giant spaceships that can be seen residing in Saturn's rings, further saying that these should be investigated as they could be a threat to life on Earth and the rest of the solar system. These bold claims are backed up with interesting photographs of Saturn. The images in question show what appears to be a long-looking object close to the giant planet. Dr. Norman Berggren worked for over 10 years at NASA as a research scientist. It's also important to note that he has a 13-year history working at the Lockheed Missiles and Space Company. The doctor has looked through images of Saturn and noticed various anomalies. These photographs were taken during the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft missions, which happened in 1980 and 1981. Incredibly, he claims that the rings of Saturn may have been created by giant EMVs. This stands for electromagnetic vehicles, further saying that if this was the case, they would have been controlled by very intelligent beings. Interestingly, these objects have not only been captured near Saturn, but close to Jupiter, the Sun, and our Moon, leaving some to suggest that these crafts are interested in our solar system and planets. He's called these anomalies living alien spaceships. He's also said these crafts have the ability to self-replicate, and he said these giant spaceships are doing this at an incredibly fast rate. Interestingly, various people have said this theory can be backed up by recent photographs. Going back, the Cassini probe sent back images which appear to show a hole in one of Saturn's F-rings. Theorists then suggested that one of these motherships could have burst through the ring, leaving a massive hole behind it. However, NASA scientists and other researchers are not on board with this theory, saying the most likely explanation for the giant hole is that of space debris. Furvis saying that a large asteroid most likely collided with the F-ring and caused the gap. Scientists have also said that photographs aren't always reliable, and sometimes they show these anomalies. Other objects that have a similar look to these include that of Oumuamua. Going back on the 19th of October in 2017, astronomers in the scientific world were amazed when they noticed an object traveling through our solar system. The object in question had come from another solar system, and it was quickly given the name of Oumuamua. What stood out about this object, though, was that it seemingly appeared out of nowhere, which in turn caused many to ask questions. When researchers were able to lock onto the object, they could see it traveling around the sun and then shooting away again. However, after this, it was not to return. Astronomers were able to record data on the object for a short period of time. After looking at the data, it turned out that Oumuamua was in our solar system for over a century. The reason Oumuamua wasn't spotted sooner is because it wasn't close enough to reflect enough light for astronomers to pick it up. Recently, various people come forward and said that they spotted mysterious lights above Washington. They've been described as being triangular in shape and pulsating different colors. One local resident described the lights as looking like a giant triangle, saying that it kept a triangular formation before splitting off and shooting away, only to then get back in formation and repeat the same. These unidentified flying objects were only seen by a few people, but luckily someone managed to snap some photographs of the event. Interestingly, UFO researchers said that these objects have been fascinated with Washington for years, having many people come forward and detail odd-looking crafts above the Capitol. The triangular-shaped UFO is one of the most commonly reported crafts, with many eyewitnesses all across the planets detailing their own stories. These lights reminded some of the events that's become known as the invasion of Washington, D.C. This happened back in 1952. Many people will report that if aliens truly existed, then these extraterrestrials and visitors from other planets would quickly fly to the leaders of our world and confront them with their concerns or agendas. Depictions from old science fiction movies of the early 1900s showcase this thought more than others, with props of unidentified flying objects landing on a White House lawn filled with alien life attempting to approach the leader of the free world. What many are not actually aware of, however, is that back in 1952, this very much proved to be the case. Later referred to by Project Blue Book specialists as the invasion of Washington, D.C., for roughly 8 consecutive days from the 19th of July to the 27th of July, the most publicized sightings of alleged extraterrestrial life took place above the nation's capital. Not only was there a tidal wave of reports that flooded in from the general population as outlined by UFO historians, but the reports consisted of high officials, members of the military and Air Force participation in reaction to these unidentified graphs. One of these reports took place at 11:40 p.m. on Saturday the 19th of July, and this was from a man by the name of Edward Nugent. Mr. Nugent was an Air Force traffic controller at the Washington National Airport, and detected 7 objects on his radar moving at speeds, flight paths, and directions that no known human craft could have produced at the time. Nugent later wrote the following: "We immediately knew that a very strange situation existed. Their movements were completely radical compared to those of an ordinary craft." This was merely the first report out of countless of hundreds of sightings that took place during that time. This later caused a climax by then-President Harry Truman, who ordered the Air Force to investigate and provide an explanation for the wave of sightings and odd radar information data. Given the credibility of the witness reports, the information retrieved by air traffic controllers and radar data specialists, and further investigations led by the Central Intelligence Agency, the existence of extraterrestrial involvement seems certain. It seems that interest in UFOs have only increased in recent times. Various photographs and videos have made their way into the mainstream media, with government officials even coming forward and saying that they've investigated these crafts, and that some of them are in fact genuine. This has caused people to look into the subject with a more open mind. Interestingly, there's not many places where these unidentified flying objects have not been recorded. One place that has its fair share of UFO reports is that of China. When UFOs are reported in China, however, it doesn't have as much of an impact. It's usually debunked straight away and people seem to forget about it. A large amount of these crafts have been photographed from this region, and it seems that it's only when they reach social media that they have an impact, with people then asking what they are and where they came from. This is what happened back in 2018. When many residents noticed what appeared to be strange glowing lights in the sky above Beijing. Multiple residents saw these crafts and started to snap photographs. One eyewitness described the lights as looking like a cone and said that every so often it would give off bright colors. Others said the lights would suddenly appear in the sky before mysteriously vanishing. Even though the strange event was witnessed by many people in the region, an explanation was not given for what was seen that night. One researcher, Yugun, reported that the object was high in the sky at the time it was seen, and that it definitely wasn't a satellite or any other man-made object. It's important to note as well, there was no rocket launches in the area at the time of the report, leaving some to suggest that the only explanation that can be given is that this was in fact a genuine unidentified flying object. As of today, China's state media has given no official explanations about the strange-looking objects. It's also interesting to note that the area in which the objects were seen is highly restricted airspace, so it's unlikely to have been a man-made craft. Others have suggested that the object in question could have been the military testing out some new technology, but as some have pointed out, it's unlikely they would have done this over such a crowded place. Interestingly, similar-looking objects have been reported in various countries across the world, causing some to put forward the idea that these objects don't belong to us. Non-believers have said the cause of the lights could be down to atmospheric conditions, suggesting that it could be similar to ball lightning or earthquake lights. Another idea was that it could have been a resident using something like a drone. However, this doesn't explain how the lights vanished and then reappeared. As of today, what was seen that night remains a mystery. Although many people don't believe in extraterrestrial life, there's just as many that do. Scientists and researchers have said that due to how many planets there are in our galaxy alone, the probability of there being life somewhere out in the universe is very likely. Where people tend to disagree is whether it's close to our planet. There's some that have said that if life does exist, it may look nothing like us. Our brains are molded to pick up on things we're used to, with researchers saying that when we imagine an alien, we picture it as being humanoid. Further saying that if they do exist, they're most likely nothing like us. The topic of UFOs is an interesting one, and although some think of aliens when the subject comes up, it's important to note that a UFO is simply an object that cannot be identified at that moment in time. It's only been in recent years that the two have been paired. According to amateur researchers, one of the best places to look for unidentified flying objects is on space cams, and some have said that the recent SpaceX launch gave us an insight into how common they are. One short clip is currently making the rounds on social media, and it shows what appears to be a glowing white object flying towards the Dragon capsule. One person who watched the event live said the following: "It's weird how they didn't mention anything about it. Why aren't people trying to find answers for what these objects are? Every time a camera goes into space, we seem to catch these things. Not talking about them only makes people more suspicious." While others went on to say that what we're most likely looking at is a piece of space debris. This did, however, start an interesting conversation. Though NASA continues to deny a variety of theories surrounding UFOs, it appears there are pieces of evidence that have confused even the best researchers. Interestingly, NASA have denied to comment on some of these matters. Some examples come straight from that of the continuous live footage of the International Space Station. For those that are unaware, the International Space Station has a variety of cameras to monitor spacewalks and other areas that need to be under 24-hour surveillance. This has allowed the agency to play the live footage on internet shows, websites, live television broadcasting, and so on, to help build up an interest in space. Recently, there have been numerous events where footage of strange objects float in the distance. This has led many to believe it's extraterrestrial in origin. After such incidents are spotted, the footage will later be removed or edited. The live feed will be cut, or the entire instance will be completely ignored by NASA. As of right now, mermaids are believed to be works of fiction, but with over 90% of the ocean still unexplored, there's those that put forward the idea that they could exist in small regions. For hundreds of years, sailors have reported encountering ugly oceanic creatures. They describe them as looking human-like, but with the bottom half matching that of a fish. Stories were soon shared, and many believe that these underwater inhabitants were genuine. Depending on who you talk to, some claim that they were good and would help humans in times of need, while others said they kept their distance and in some cases were actually evil. As mentioned though today, the scientific world has said there's no proof of these underwater creatures. But that hasn't stopped people coming forward with their own encounters. The most recent one is these photographs that have been making the rounds on social media. They were posted to a cryptid group. For those unaware, cryptids are labeled as creatures that are not recognized in the scientific world. For example, the Loch Ness Monster in Bigfoot. The photographs do appear to show what looks like a mermaid. Various photos were taken before it jumped into the water and swam off. One of the issues with these reports, though, is that it's hard to track down a source. Some claim the photographs were taken in the Amazon rainforest, while others said they were captured somewhere in the Philippines. As of right now, not much information can be gathered about the photographs. As skeptics have pointed out though, when it comes to mermaid photos and videos, they can easily be faked. Not everyone is of this opinion though. Amateur researchers have claimed that early humans could have adapted to an underwater lifestyle. This has become known as the aquatic ape theory, and this is the idea that humans ventured into the oceans millions of years ago. Some theorists have put forward the idea that it's one of the reasons why we're so different from other species of apes. They claim that bipedalism was achieved by venturing into the water millions of years ago. What's interesting is that some species of monkeys show this trait while crossing shallow rivers. It allows them to keep their head above the water and also look out for predators. Humans have hairless skin when compared to other apes. We have it on our head to protect us from the sun. Meanwhile, primates such as baboons and other monkeys which live on the savanna have neither lost their hair nor developed an upright posture. This is why some people have put forward this theory. Where did we learn this and why are we so alike, but at the same time so different from these other aims? Our brains greatly expanded at one point, and it's thought this was promoted by the protein-rich fish diet. We have a hooded nose that helps prevent water from entering the nostrils. Although these are interesting points, scientists have said it doesn't prove that mermaids once existed, and that people back then were most likely misidentifying common oceanic life. For example, manatees under certain light can take on a humanoid form. So what do you make of these photographs and the aquatic ape theory? The ocean is one of the last unexplored frontiers. Every year we discover thousands of new species, showcasing how little we know about our oceans. Interestingly, in recent years, people have come forward and detailed some strange things they've encountered while exploring the oceans. And one of these came from a former National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration employee. They posted their story on Reddit, but when you try to view it, it's now being taken down. And this was because the individual gave out personal and specific information that went against the guidelines. I tried to reach out to the individual that posted the story, asking if they could put me in touch with the person who told them this story, but they didn't reply, even after reaching out multiple times. As of right now, there's those that believe the story and those that think it's just made up. Here's the unedited story. I am posting this for an acquaintance that does not meet the Reddit requirements for posting in this sub herself. This is not my information, nor am I in any way related to this situation or any actions taken by her. Everything beyond this point is verbatim her story as provided to me. The Navy has worked in conjunction with the government to keep this quiet on all fronts. Other governments have similar systems in place to keep this information strictly in the realm of fiction, according to public perception. I am compelled to break my silence and disseminate this information. My colleagues in the organization I've called home for the past 12 years is responsible for keeping one of the greatest genealogical discoveries of all time quiet. The sector I work in has been restructured and downsized, so I'm going to lose my job in May. This post should expedite that process. I began my career with the Redacted office located in Redacted. I hold an MS in Biological Sciences from Redacted and a PhD in Wildlife and Fisheries Sciences from Redacted. In 2012, there was an incident of a few beach whales that were investigated by NAWA and a team from the Navy. This was very thoroughly hushed up immediately afterwards. The whales were full of perfectly circular incisions, where large chunks of their flesh had been removed, like cylinders of meat essentially. At first we thought this was done after the beaching, but we learned that they washed up this way. What really caught everyone's attention was the seared flesh around the circumference of the incisions, as if they were burned out with lasers. We were all baffled as we had never seen anything like this in marine life. Then we got a call informing us that a small team would be conducting a hydrographic survey of the area, using the echo sounder of a local vessel. We typically use a technique called multi-beam sonar to scan and map the seafloor in astounding detail. The data we collect is processed by various parties and is usually uploaded to online databases. We were told that this would not be the case for this expedition. Long story short, we found irrefutable evidence of an advanced humanoid species living under our oceans. Using the multi-beam sonar, we found their dwelling areas and also what appears to be underwater vehicles of some kind. The creatures themselves were tracked by the Navy over the course of 2 weeks, using a submersible equipped with special deep-sea observation equipment. The creatures displayed speeds of 70+ knots, faster than the sailfish, which is widely considered to be the fastest creature in the ocean. They were also recorded emitting sounds that resembled marine communications, and instruments also captured the emissions of precision sonoblasts that damaged the hull of the submersible. This is according to the Navy report. There is footage of the creatures, including juveniles. The Navy did not share the video with us, but an officer I spoke with gave the following description. They don't look real. They look like computer animation or something. They have a glow around their entire body and they move really fast. Like even small movements like turning their head or moving an arm was like watching a high frame rate video. They look nothing like any fictional depiction out there. They do not have a fishtail. They are completely humanoid but extremely thin and tall. Their bodies were covered in a material resembling elemental mercury that looked like it was moving. They were very interested in the submersible and seemed to know that they were being observed, as a few times they would swim off and then come back with more creatures. We observed at max 5 of them at once, varying sizes but otherwise identical in appearance. Their eyes were completely white and there was no visible hair, nor any features that implied male or female. No visible ears, and their mouths were wide and lipless. We flashed sequences of lights at them, sounds, and even extended a robotic arm on the submersible to try and get some kind of physical sample or DNA from the specimens or the water nearest to them. We don't know how they were swimming, as they weren't wading or moving their bodies the way a fish or even a human would underwater. They were capable of just moving rapidly in any direction, without the need to change positions or swim. In fact, during the majority of the observations, they were just floating motionless without losing or gaining buoyancy. Now they were also cross-observed via sonar, some very large. They would move faster than anything seen capable of moving underwater. They were not seen or recorded on video, just on sonar. They would at times disappear completely while being observed, as if they left the water or cloaked themselves. We have 2 weeks' worth of data on just this one area. We were made aware that this is just one spot around the world where these creatures reside hidden from view. A briefing that I was able to read during a meeting indicated that the Mariana Trenches were the largest concentration of these creatures reside, and that they seem to be completely unaffected by the DEM structures, believed to be their dwellings units, have been mapped. They are perfectly hexagonal and joined together like a honeycomb. Their composition is unknown. The Navy confiscated most of the hard evidence. All we have are some sonar readings that are only anomalous if you know what you're looking for. I want everyone to know this information. We are not alone, but they aren't from space. In order to exist at these depths and under astronomical pressures, these beings are either invincible or they've evolved so far beyond us that they have some kind of technology that negates both of these dangers. This is actively being covered up by every lettered organization and by our military. Other nations are aware of these beings, and I believe some authentic videos may even be mingled in all of the doctor stuff. The sightings in Kiryat Yam were authentic. We mapped a collection of their dolings of the coast near Cyprus Island." End quote. So what do you guys make of this story? And do you believe that underwater humanoids exist in our oceans? Space has truly earned its moniker as the final frontier, stretching in all directions with rules of gravity and physics that do not apply on Earth. The possibilities for what might lie beyond our comprehension are endless. Some things that occur are so strange that it seems that the only explanation is one that involves aliens and other life forms. But most are none other than marvels of science that have never been seen on our small planet. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 instances of space marvels so unexpected that they even surprise scientists. Solar tornadoes captured on the sun's surface. Since the sun is so incredibly important to life on Earth, it is under constant surveillance by scientists. And because of this, you might think that surprising occurrences would be rare, but the invisible magnetic field that bends the charged gas and plasma around the sun has revealed some strange phenomenon. The Solar Dynamics Observatory, or SDO, is run by NASA and is used to capture high-definition images of the sun from space. The surface of the sun is always bending and twisting from the magnetic energy generated on its surface, but recently scientists have noticed an odd phenomenon that appears to be a gigantic solar tornado rotating across the surface. The plasma, which usually flares and spits from the surface with no apparent pattern, was rotating and spinning in a manner that greatly resembles how the debris and trash swells in a tornado. This supports the theory that the field around the sun generates solar weather by creating unevenly heated and charged particles that cause currents and other examples of atmospheric variability. These solar tornadoes are not common, only a few a year are recorded, but when they do occur, they are impressive to behold. In 2015, a gigantic plume of swirling superheated plasma raged across the surface of the sun for 40 hours, and every minute of it was recorded and analyzed by the Solar Dynamics Observatory spacecraft technology. The temperature of the ultraviolet plasma peaked at over 2.8 million degrees Celsius. In 2014, one of these mammoth solar tornadoes spun so violently it spun off the surface of the sun and dissipated into space. One of the largest recorded solar tornadoes was documented in 2011 by the Solar Dynamics Observatory to be about 5 times the size of the Earth and spinning at a rate of 186,000 miles per hour. The solar flares traveled in a twisting, spiraling pattern up off the surface of the Sun to about 200,000 kilometers into the solar atmosphere. Analysis of solar tornadoes is important because they are driven by the powerful magnetic field of the Sun and usually occur at the same time as massive blasts of solar plasma called coronal mass ejections. It isn't known whether solar tornadoes trigger coronal mass ejections, only that they generally occur in conjunction with each other. But studying the solar tornadoes could likely give us a better understanding of the coronal by interfering with GPS signals, radio communications, and power grids. The Solar Dynamics Observatory is part of a highly funded NASA initiative called Living with a Star that seeks to gain a greater understanding of our Sun and the effects of solar variability and weather patterns on our planetary life through the study of such phenomena as these solar tornadoes. Messier 82 supernova explosion. Some humans might be surprised to discover that our galaxy is not the biggest or even the brightest galaxy. In fact, Messier 82, also known as Cigar Galaxy, is a starburst galaxy about 12 million light-years away from our own Milky Way that produces stars at a rate 33 times the rate of star formations in the Milky Way. It is about 5 times brighter with a center over 100 times brighter than our home galaxy. Because it is a high-energy starburst galaxy, it is prone to the collapse of young but still enormous stars which form the astronomical phenomenon known as a supernova. In 2014, the Messier 82 galaxy experienced a Type 1a supernova, which was recorded by the Hubble Space Telescope and was logged as the closest supernova explosion to Earth in at least 40 years. The explosion was the brightest point in the entire galaxy, and at the peak of the explosion could even be seen with the naked eye or amateur telescope. Amazingly, the event was discovered by chance as a professor at University College London was training several undergraduate students to use a small telescope and looked at Messier 82 because it was one of the only regions not covered by London's dense clouds that day. Satellite logs were recovered and the progress of the explosion could be tracked. The explosion took place over the course of 2 weeks, and the entire cycle of the eruption was recorded via telescopic imaging, so that researchers could use the images to increase their understanding of the process of a supernova. As there had not yet been such a close occurrence of a supernova since the development of high-resolution telescopes and more advanced technology, the supernova in Messier 82 is currently the best documented and studied supernova in history due to its proximity to Earth. The study of this supernova and other similar Type 1a supernovae in general allow astronomers to estimate the relative cosmology of the universe, as well as to understand the mechanisms behind the occurrences of these massive astronomical explosions. Close inspection of the supernova of Messier 82 has given credence to several popular theories regarding the conditions of formation and the structure of progenitor stars prior to explosion. Scientists hope that another such close-range example will arrive to provide empirical support for the theories and observations that Messier 82 began and propagated. The appearance and disappearance of the Great Dark Spot on Neptune. Dark spots on planets are not uncommon. In fact, Jupiter's Great Red Spot is one of the most well-documented planetary features next to Saturn's rings. Neptune has its own set of features, including a set of dark spots, the largest of which was dubbed the Great Dark Spot or GDS 89, upon its discovery in 1989 by the Voyager 2 space probe. These dark spots are not characteristics of the planet's crust, but rather the result of large anticyclonic storms forming in the atmosphere. Anticyclonic storms are cases where winds rotate in the opposite direction of the rotation above a low-pressure region. However, in the case of Neptune, these anticyclonic systems are formed in a relatively cloud-free interior, have been documented to disappear and reappear in cycles several years in length, meaning that the surface of Neptune generally only has a great dark spot about half of its life. This is in contrast to Jupiter's famed anticyclonic red spot, which has been in place for hundreds of years. Although anticyclonic storms occur regularly, albeit briefly on Earth, the Great Spot occurs with much larger proportions. GDS 89 had a slightly elliptical shape that was around the same size as our entire planet with winds recorded at speeds over 2,100 kilometers per hour, the fastest winds ever recorded in the solar system. Although it is not certain what is causing these storms of enormous proportions, scientists believe that it is likely a hole in the methane cloud deck of the planet. Unfortunately, the Great Dark Spot still remains rather mysterious, largely due to the fact and inability to get a close inspection of it. The primary way that GDS-89 is viewed is through the Hubble Space Telescope, and even then it is incredibly difficult to get a good view of it. After its discovery in 1989, it wasn't until 1991 that the Hubble Space Telescope was in a position to see it again, and this time scientists were shocked to discover that GDS-89 had completely disappeared. Although later in 1994, an orbit by the Hubble photographed the appearance of a similar dark spot that could have been the original GDS-89. Although scientists are not entirely sure why it disappeared, they theorize that it either dissipated entirely due to migrating too close to the equator, or it could have been covered by other atmospheric clouds and was still in existence just out of view. The surface of Neptune is covered in high clouds, made of methane ice crystals dense enough to cover and cast shadows on a lower cloud layer made of ammonia or hydrogen sulfide. There may also be several more layers that could not have been studied below these, meaning that the conditions and weather patterns of the cloudy planet could very well have been hiding the Great Dark Spot just below the cloud cover all along. Regardless, the spot was not seen again until 2016, when another spot emerged, but this time in Neptune's northern hemisphere. This spot, dubbed the Northern Great Dark Spot, appeared nearly identical to the initial Great Dark Spot and has been visible in all attempts to photograph it since then. Although an opportunity for viewing the Northern Great Dark Spot has not presented itself in several years, making it uncertain as to whether it is still there or not. The universe stretches so much further than our own insignificant little Milky Way. And although scientists have no idea exactly what lies hidden beyond the reaches of our telescopes and satellites, the more that comes to light about the strange forces that govern space, the more we can understand the world beyond our atmosphere. All that we can do is seek to understand as much as we can about our surroundings and slowly uncover the mystery that is space. But what do you make of these space discoveries? This year has been a tough one for many. This past year has been a revolving door of bad news. It seems as if 2020 is a cursed year, and it tried to pack in as many newsworthy events as possible in these 12 months. One that has been a beacon for many is the arrival of a vaccine, and this reassured a lot of people that the end is near. However, it's not that straightforward, and this is because of recent events that have played out. One interesting thing that's happening right now is people are taking it on live television, and this is said to give confidence to people that are on the edge about taking it. However, it seems that this recent event has had the complete opposite effect. A Tennessee nurse was seen taking it on live television, and again, this was as a demonstration that it's safe, and that it should encourage others to do the same. But quite possibly, the worst thing happened. She collapsed after receiving it. And as you can imagine, this caused people to put forward all kinds of theories for why this happened. But now the most recent news is that the nurse passed away. This hasn't been announced yet, but people are confused as to why she hasn't updated her social media profiles. People have been sending her thousands of messages a day asking for an update. Online users noticed that before receiving it, she would normally post once every 2 to 3 days, but that her last post was over 8 days ago, causing some to suggest that she may have passed away, and some have said this could be linked to what she took. It's important to note that this hasn't been confirmed yet, but as some have pointed out, it's strange that she hasn't sent out a message, letting everyone know that she's okay. Some have said that she's likely resting up and that she's recovering from what happened. But again, online users have said that it doesn't fill people with confidence that she's been silent for over a week. As of right now, her latest Instagram post has over 1,500 comments, and all of them are asking if she's okay, and why she hasn't updated users about how she's feeling. There were some online users who were annoyed that she got chosen to receive it, saying that couldn't they have picked someone who wouldn't have collapsed? After all, when you're trying to make people feel better about taking it, it's not a good look when one of the nurses loses consciousness on live TV. Some have said that it's not a big deal and people are overreacting. But others followed on from these comments and said that surely they would have asked the nurses before they received it if they think they would faint. After all, this was being broadcast to millions of people and they were hoping that this would get the ball rolling. All this has done is put people off. One person said the following: "This really isn't a good look for everything what's going on at the moment. What happened to this poor girl? Why wouldn't she put out a small post on social media saying that she's okay? Why would you go silent after something like this happened? I don't know why someone would do this. End quote. What this person said the following on Facebook. It's strange that she would just go silent like that. I'm not one of those that believes in all the theories that's floating around at the moment. But even I find it strange that something hasn't been said in regards to her well-being. How is this helping those who are nervous about what's going on? I hope she's okay and that we get an update soon. End quote. Interestingly, the hospital where she was at came forward and said the following. Update: Nurse Tiffany Dover appreciates the concern shown for her. She is home and doing well. She asked for privacy for her and her family. End quote. Online users were not happy with this tweet though, with this person saying the following. I don't believe this. Why doesn't Tiffany Dover or her family come forward and tell us what's going on? People want to know. End quote. Well, this person said the following. The public would like to hear from Tiffany Dover, not the hospital. Your tweet does nothing to help restore public confidence. End quote. Others have said the family may have been told to be quiet and not comment on the issue. After all, like many have mentioned, it's not a good look at the moment. And they might be trying to find the best way to deal with this without causing more drama. Another online user said the following. I really hope that she's all right and that she's just taking some time off. But it would be really good if we could hear from her. I find it a bit strange that her family hasn't come forward and given us a statement letting us know that she's all right. I just hope that everything is okay with them and that they're resting up. Hopefully we hear something soon and we can all put this behind us. End quote. Everyone hopes that her and her family are okay, but just worried as they haven't heard from the nurse in over a week now. And after being fairly active, online users have said they thought she would have put out some kind of statement. Recently, the World Health Organization have tried to make people feel more routines. They said the following on their website. There is currently no evidence that people can catch it from food, including fruits and vegetables. Fresh fruits and vegetables are part of a healthy diet and their consumption should be encouraged. It's important that everywhere you go, you ensure you're following the correct precautions. It's safe to have groceries delivered if the provider follows good personal and food hygiene practices. After accepting food deliveries, hands should be properly washed. End quote. So what do you make of this? Why do you think it happened? And do you think that she's okay? A resident in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia managed to capture a video of a strange object descending from the sky. After posting it on social media, people started to give their opinions on what they thought the object was. Some suggested that the object is an unidentified flying object, while others said it could be a plane. However, some couldn't seem to agree on the shape of the object, with one person saying the object looked like a large cigar, while others said it was far too big to be a plane. One person said that going back a while ago there was a UFO that was seen coming through the clouds that came close to a plane, and that these photographs reminded them of that. Others followed on from this and said that this object does match descriptions of certain UFOs. One person in the group said the following, I saw that when I was heading to Liverpool yesterday. I thought it was a plane going down. End quote. While this person said the following, I saw something in the air of Yarmouth, but didn't manage to snap any photographs. These are some clear photos you captured. I just hope this is a UFO and not a plane going down. End quote. However, other people who claimed to have seen it said it looked nothing like a plane, and at some points it was even hovering in the sky and then descending. They even went on to say that it looked like at one point the object was releasing things into the sky. The individual who took these photographs also sent me some videos. So what do you make of these videos? And what do you think this object is? New discoveries and scientific advancements are always being made, and often that means looking into the past, not staring into the future. With the constant development of equipment and modern analysis techniques, we're able to delve deeper into the past than ever before. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 relatively recent archaeological discoveries. Medieval skeleton entangled in tree roots in Ireland. In May of 2015, strong storms in Ireland caused a long-standing beech tree to overturn, falling over and revealing a skeleton in the midst of tangled roots. Upon further inspection, it became apparent that the skeleton was that of a medieval boy, estimated to be between 17 and 20 years old upon passing. The tree, which was planted in Kalyuni, was estimated to be a 215-year-old Georgian tree, having grown around the remains of a young man believed to have passed away in the medieval period. The entirety of the skeleton had been buried, intertwined with the roots of the beech tree underground, though the roots were so dense that when the tree toppled, only the upper body of the skeleton was lifted from the ground, still enclosed in the roots. The initial research conducted on the remains was carried out by Sligo Leitrim Archaeological Services, also known as SLAS. The research was being led by Linda Lynch. It was this team who initially placed the age of the skeleton to be just 17 to 29 years old. This was a relatively early age, even when considering the lowered medieval life expectancy, which was in the mid-40s, if the individual survived infancy and childhood. Lynch, the leading researcher of SLAS and her team, found a substantial number of injuries to the skeleton, primarily focused on the ribs and the hand. It's assumed these were acquired in some sort of knife conflict, and this violent act was what caused this man to pass away. Further research employed the use of carbon dating methods. This involves assessing the carbon-14 content within the bones. Carbon-14, also referred to as radiocarbon, is a natural isotope that can be detected due to its radioactivity, hence the alternate name radiocarbon. The conclusion pulled for the measurement of the carbon-14 isotope was that the loss of life of the boy could be traced back to 1030 to 1230 AD period, which is in the medieval era. Since the skeleton, most notably the upper body, had been so heavily entangled in the tree roots, the movement and activity of these roots had caused damage to the bones. While no further skeletons have yet been unearthed in the surrounding area, it's believed, at least by Marion Dowd, the director of SLAS, that there is more to the story we've not yet uncovered. 19th century records suggest a church and graveyard are within close proximity to where the skeleton was uncovered. The young boy had received a formal Christian burial, in keeping with the idea that a church graveyard was once a nearby site. The remains had further analysis and investigations conducted, before being relocated to the National Museum of Ireland in Dublin. This is standard protocol outlined in archaeological legislation. The interaction between humans and nature is a baffling one, especially when events like this show the strange stories that can arise as a result. Neanderthal glue. The discovery of a substance likened to glue on stone tools from 50,000 years ago has been said to indicate a higher level of thinking from Neanderthals than we previously assumed they'd been capable of. This substance has been compared to glue, as scientists assume it served a similar function. The Neanderthal glue was made from birch tar and required a series of steps that we had initially deemed too complex for this primitive species to master. This difficult sequence suggests a higher cognitive ability, adding more evidence to the idea that Neanderthals were more than the underdeveloped cavemen our stereotypes often lead us to imagine. So far, only a select few Neanderthal tools have traces of this birch tar glue on them. Despite this, there have been suggestions from experts that this method could have been relatively mainstream throughout these societies. The stone tool that sparked these discussions once again was found in the North Sea. It's believed to have been laid for 50,000 years. Finding this tool in the North Sea is not as strange as it may first appear. The group was believed to have lived in the area there at that time and was part of Doggerland, though this area has now submerged within the North Sea. Some have even suggested that icy temperatures underwater is what aided in the preservation of the glue. We yet define Neanderthal glue in any other conditions. The icy conditions of Doggerland invites more questions than answers. With such sparse woodland, the creation of glue from birch trees requires extensive forethought. Dr. Nyquist, co-author of the Stitching Stone Foundation for Stone Age Research, estimated that a minimum of 40 kilograms of wood was needed to carry out this process. He goes on to elaborate that the steppe tundra conditions they lived in saw only dwarf birch trees growing, as opposed to the birch trees we might be familiar with. The building of fires and physically completing the motion of extracting the tar is once again another process we hadn't previously associated with in Neanderthals. Some think this tar was largely used to attach tool heads to handles, acting truly as a glue. Others suggest that in cases such as this particular tool that was discovered, the tar itself formed a grip, which allowed for more pressure without injuring the user's hands. This means that a simple stone flake can cut plant fibers, scrape animal skins, and act generally as a tool for precision. Dr. Nyquist explains that this particular tool in question didn't have any indentation from a wood or bone handle within the tar, hence the conclusion that the tar may act as a grip hold. The complexity of the tar substance being used to form a simple grip on a basic tool was surprising to many archaeologists. Such a difficult procedure was assumed to be reserved only for special hunting tools, not just any tool used in day-to-day events. This has led many to assume the creation of this glue was widespread and a readily available process. A similar discovery has been made in Italy, with pine tree resin being used to serve a similar function. Many researchers think that birch was considered the first choice due to the material being more pliable. This is the earliest adhesive we're yet to see be created. However, that doesn't mean that advanced techniques were not used by earlier societies. There's always the possibility that we're yet to stumble across a new discovery. Neanderthals commonly suffered from swimmer's ear. Research in 2019 by Eric Trinkaus, employed by Washington University, suggests that it was more common than expected for Neanderthals to have abnormal bone growth within their ear canals. When we see this bone growth today, we diagnose people with swimmer's ear. These odd pieces of bone are officially referred to as external auditory exostosis. They're dense pieces of bone that grow in the ear canal. The condition is thought to be triggered by a repeated or consistent exposure to frigid temperatures such as icy water and cold air. Whilst this may be the leading assumption, other components such as genetics are thought to play a key role. Trinkhausen and his team conducted a study upon 77 well-preserved ancient humans' ear canals. These ancient humans span Neanderthals to humans from the early modern period to the middle to late Pleistocene epoch of the Western Eurasia. The study found that the number of early modern humans in the sample with swimmer's ear matched the number of modern humans with this condition. The remains of the Neanderthal, on the other hand, saw approximately 50% of the individuals being afflicted. This was twice as high as other groups studied. After having seen this alarming difference, Trinkaus aimed to find an explanation for this significant difference. Whilst there has been no conclusive answer, many factors have been considered for this. The Neanderthals were believed to have spent a much larger amount of time gathering resources from and nearby large bodies of water, fitting in with the already established idea that swimmers' ears are impacted by the time spent in cold water. However, the spread of geographic location of these Neanderthals and the differing position of the abnormal bone growth suggest there may not be a distinct difference dependent on how close they live to water or cold climates. Neanderthals living in different areas were impacted differently. This has led many researchers to place more weight on the theory of a genetic component, as this is one underlying factor. Trinkaus himself added that the higher number of cases of swimmers is, in Neanderthals compared to other humans, suggested that the Neanderthal population required on aquatic resources more than current archaeological research implies. He follows this up by saying that his research, at a minimum, serves as a reminder as to the wide and varied resource and foraging skills the Neanderthals possessed. Our understanding of the world is ever-changing. We have to let it be shaped by more and more discoveries, as we uncover and unravel the truth of our ancestors and our evolutionary neighbors who came before us. So what do you make of these archaeological discoveries? When the president signed the $2.3 trillion relief and government funding bill back in December, it also started the ball rolling on something else. As of that date, U.S. intelligence agencies have just 180 days to release everything they know about UFOs, as subjects that has been thrown into the limelight in recent months. The Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary are said to have been put on the spot, and will now have to release everything they know about these unidentified crafts. It sounds too good to be true, but the call to action is very much real. It's stated that these documents must contain detailed analysis and descriptions of unidentified crafts that have been observed by the Naval Intelligence, and also that of the mysterious Unidentified Aerial Task Force program. Interestingly, this bill backs up what many UFO researchers have been saying for years. And this is that every other year they open up a new project in order to study and work alongside these crafts. Those who have looked into the phenomena have said that back when Project Blue Book was carried out, officials said at the end of their investigations, they didn't find anything of interest and so shut the program down, saying that nothing was found and it wasn't worth their time and money. However, fast forward a couple of decades and numerous UFO programs have been opened up to look into the phenomenon, with researchers noting that these are only the ones we know about. It's fair to say then that government officials are interested in these graphs, and clearly think it's worth the time, effort, and money to further investigate whatever these things are. Due to recent announcements in regards to this subject, it's caused some to say that UFOs need to be taken more seriously, and that the stigma around those that study them need to be dropped. The irony being that government officials are perhaps the ones that are most interested in these objects, spending billions of dollars over the years in order to study them and gather as much evidence as possible. Some have said the president is going all out and wants to reveal the truth to the public about what's really going on. Others, though, within the UFO community are not sure if any information will be released. With one UFO researcher saying the following on paper, it's very exciting that this announcement has been released, but the bottom line is that they won't release any information they don't want to. It's sad because people are getting excited by this news, and I can see why, but in my opinion, judging how people have acted this year and how easily offended people get, do you really think we're ready to be told that we're part of something much bigger? It's not going to happen. The only thing that will be revealed is probably a little more information on the program they were running in the past. Stuff that many of us are already aware of. In my opinion, the majority of the world certainly are not ready for the truth. End quote. The Central Intelligence Agency has a long history of ties to questionable activity, decisions, and out there experimentation that seems to border on the insane. Regardless of their actions, it seems that nearly every new declassified document seems to uncover more and more impossible to explain, or even worse, impossible to justify experiments. They continue to bring to light just how far the CIA is willing to go to gather their intelligence. At the end of 2017, the United States Department of Defense began their subtle declassification processes by slowly declassifying a collection of military documents and research information to the general public. Usually these declassification processes are fraught with financial information, technical documents, and references to training programs, government budgets, assistance with other nations, or other basic procedures, of which do not hold any significant importance outside of technical military information. However, it became apparent very quickly to members amongst the UFO community that the declassified files coming from the Pentagon were more than just research and technical information. Back in 2007, the Department of Defense began developing a UFO research program tasked with gathering information regarding unidentified flying objects and conducting research as to the observed aircrafts, their origin, and their technological prowess. The team was quickly budgeted with $22 million in support in a team of military intelligence officials, researchers, and the highest level of security clearance. The program itself went by the name of the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, and was given the primary objective of identifying these unidentified flying objects as whether or not they were potential threats to national security. It did not take long for the team to gather a wide variety of strange sighting reports made by pilots from all across the country, including associated data like camera footage and radar information, while attempting to match these sightings with known international aircraft signatures. Expecting to find explanations to these crafts and their origin, after the gathered data was compiled, it became rather obvious that this would not be the case. In fact, many of the researchers involved in the program regarded these UFO sightings and crafts as having no earthly origin and displaying behavior that could not be explained. This could very well be the closest the Department of Defense will ever come to admitting the viability of extraterrestrial crafts without directly saying it. According to Nate Jones, the director of the Freedom of Information Act, he claims that the footage shown and provided was never officially declassified, and that there are potentially many files that yet to be declassified that have not yet gone through the proper channels. In fact, it almost appears to be that the initial cause for the declassification of certain files to begin with was due to a potential leak of information that originated from inside the Pentagon. As Nate Jones said the following, it looks very strongly that these weren't released through any proper DoD declassification channels. End quote. The Department of Defense has also taken a stand by saying the following. The official who is authorized to release this video on behalf of the Department of Defense did not approve the release of this video. End quote. As of right now, no one is sure what information will get released and whether the general public will be told about what these crafts are and why the government has been studying them for over 70 years. So what do you make of this announcement and the fact that high-up government officials have been studying these crafts for decades? Do you think we'll finally be told the truth about what these unidentified crafts are? Or do you think they'll just release basic and as little information as possible? Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument near the town of Salisbury, England. If you haven't heard of Stonehenge before, then it's essentially a ring of rocks, each one standing some 4 meters high and 2 meters wide. Some rocks lay on top of others, creating a gateway impression, and others stand solitary. Thought to have been constructed in the last years of the Stone Age or the early Bronze Age, Stonehenge is full of mysteries. How Stonehenge was built, but their theories aren't set in stone. The incredible monument poses more unanswered questions than answered ones, and new theories and discoveries emerge every day. Yet Stonehenge continues to baffle researchers, scientists, historians, and archaeologists. And there's one question that enthusiasts still can't find a definitive answer to. Why was Stonehenge actually built? There are numerous theories about that, but that question probably isn't going to be answered for some time. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 more recent Stonehenge discoveries. The discovery of previously unseen Stonehenge carvings. Prehistoric cave painting is well known to be one of the earliest forms of art seen on Earth. Before language existed, let alone the ability to write, read, or speak in the way we can today, man would tell stories through drawings. These paintings have been popularized in film, comics, literature, and more. They've inspired modern storytelling as well as various fables and mythology over the centuries. Stonehenge, however, wasn't believed to have such extensive carvings, which, if researchers have got the purpose for its construction right, was a bit strange. But we live in the 21st century, and luckily the beauty of laser technology exists. People were reporting that they could make out carvings on the surface of some of Stonehenge's stones as early as the 1950s. However, these claims were often disputed as, well, the carvings were so hard to see that they could hardly be categorized as intentional drawings. In 2003, however, a group of scientists took to the stones with laser technology. The quality of the photos was naturally much better than the grainy photos from nearly 50 years earlier, and even though the stones had undergone a fair amount of natural erosion, scientists could clearly make out some carvings. Further studies of the images did not only show what the carvings were meant to be, but even provided some answers to the question of why Stonehenge was built. The prehistoric carvings seemed to be of axe heads, axes themselves, and even daggers. These may seem a little violent, but it was common for drawings of weapons, amongst other things, to be carved on the walls of burial chambers or religious grounds. Burial sites all over the UK display carvings such as these. But the commemoration of the deceased isn't the only theory that the carvings support. Some researchers believe that Stonehenge was designed to line up with the summer solstice, thus acting as a rather large calendar. These carvings may have pointed out specific dates, but this theory, to this day, is far from being proven. Where did Stonehenge's stones come from? 2020 is a year that everybody will probably want to forget rather quickly. However, for geographers, natural scientists, and archaeologists, the various lockdowns have allowed research to be undertaken at various spots of natural beauty around the world, without the hordes of visiting tourists getting in the way. In July 2020, new technology solved one of Stonehenge's biggest mysteries. People have wondered how and why Stonehenge was built for decades, but also questioned where stones of the size present at Stonehenge came from. The largest stones are known to be Saracen stones, whilst the smaller rocks scattered on the ground that make up part of the inner ring are called bluestones. The Saracen stones are so huge that they are nearly the size of a double-decker bus. So where do you find stones this big? They don't just lie around in forests or in parks, so how did the monument's prehistoric creators come across them? Well, the location is not particularly spectacular. The Saracen stones used at Stonehenge hail from the West Woods in the county of Wiltshire. West Woods is just outside the small town of Marlborough, but 15 miles from Stonehenge itself. The hunter-gatherers of the period that Stonehenge was built, some 5,000 years ago, would have had to transport the stones, each one weighing nearly 25 tons from West Woods down to Salisbury. Some researchers think that the stones were moved by natural glacier movement, but others believe transportation was a human effort. They could have been transported by water in an early form of barge transport, but it's likely they were simply hauled over the land. Now you might wonder how scientists found out the true origin of the stones. It was almost accidental, in fact. In 1958, a man had taken a small amount of rock from Stonehenge home as a souvenir, something which is not permitted, but decided to hand it back to Stonehenge researchers this year. The scientists then took samples of the rock and managed to create a stone fingerprint as they had described it. They did similar things with some 20 Saracen stones from across England and compared the stones' chemical makeup. A match was eventually found, pointing straight to westwards. Researchers were very shocked at finding the source of the stone and didn't think they would have found such a precise location. However, this is a 5,000-year-old monument and mysteries aren't just solved like that. 2 of the stones didn't match the Westwoods discovery. How and why they are a different type of Saracen rock, we don't exactly know. The tunnel beneath Stonehenge. Between 500,000 and 1 million people visit Stonehenge each year. Naturally, this means that the road that passes by the monument has a lot of traffic on it all year round. For some time, controversial plans to build a tunnel under the Stonehenge heritage site has been proposed. As you can probably imagine, archaeologists, enthusiasts, historians, scientists, and even religious people are not particularly happy with this. It's not entirely known for sure what is under the historic monument and in the surrounding grounds, and people are worried that prehistoric, potentially valuable items of cultural importance may be accidentally damaged or discarded as the tunnel site is excavated. In fact, the official report on the project admitted that there would be substantial harm to cultural heritage, landscape, and a visual impact around Stonehenge. However, the last point made in the statement has caused controversy itself. The road nearby obviously causes a lot of noise and is somewhat a stain on undulating green hills that surround Stonehenge. The proposed tunnel would remove much of this visual pollution simply by putting the road underground. The proposal is a toss-up between potential harm to the grounds of a 5,000-year-old monument and producing the eyesore that is the road close by. Similarly, the closure of the current road would allow for more hiking routes the surrounding countryside. People would be able to approach Stonehenge from more directions without having to cross a busy road. Both National Trust and English Heritage have praised the plans, which was all the approval that the government really needed to get. Yet others are still not pleased, and it's rumored that protesters will even fly in from abroad to make a stand at Stonehenge. Highways England have assured those concerned that the landscape will be restored to its after the works are completed. But is it really going to be possible to do this? Over 50 proposals have been put forward in the last few decades to construct such a tunnel, and there may have been a consistent reason why they have not been allowed to proceed. The proposed tunnel will run about 130 feet below the surface, which is well below any archaeological layers. However, the approach and entrance to the tunnel will cut through topsoil, which could contain valuables and artifacts. Stonehenge is a historic site, and many believe that it should stay that way. After all, in an age when we're supposed to be reducing car travel and reducing carbon emissions, why are we making it easier to do so? Monuments such as Stonehenge are rare, and nothing we build today will reach Stonehenge's level of history for thousands of years. And it's important to remember, what do you make of these Stonehenge discoveries?